So what might Carl Jung have said to Sam Harris if he was sitting on that stage, as Jordan did for so many hours? And I think if you look at the archetypes in the collective unconscious, which is what I'm going to sample here, you might see and hear something very familiar, because these are words that have been echoed, that have been resonating through Jordan Peterson with his talks to Sam Harris and to Joe Rogan and so forth. And it's in his sort of his preface of Maps of Meaning as well, in the first few pages of it, as far as I can tell. So Jung says, when we consider the spirit in its archetypal form, as it appears to us in fairy tales and dreams, it presents a picture that differs strangely from the conscious idea of spirit, which is split up into so many meanings. Spirit was originally a spirit in human or animal form, a daimonion, that came upon man from without. But our material already shows traces of an expansion of consciousness, which has gradually begun to occupy that originally unconscious territory, and to transform those daimonia, at least partially, into voluntary acts. Man conquers not only nature, but spirit also, without realizing what he is doing. To the man of enlightened intellect, it seems like the correction of a fallacy when he recognizes that what he took to be spirits is simply the human spirit, and ultimately his own spirit. All the superhuman things, whether good or bad, that former ages predicated of the daimonia, are reduced to, quote, reasonable proportions, as though they were pure exaggeration, and everything seems to be in the best possible order. But were the unanimous convictions of the past really and truly only exaggerations? If they were not, then the integration of the spirit means nothing less than its demonization, since the superhuman spiritual agencies that were formerly tied up in nature and introjected into human nature, thus endowing it with a power which extends the bounds of the personality ad infinitum in the most perilous way. I put it to the enlightened rationalist, has his rational reduction led to the beneficial control of matter and spirit? He will point proudly to the advances in physics and medicine, to the freeing of the mind from medieval stupidity, and, as a well-meaning Christian, to our deliverance from the fear of demons. But we continue to ask, what have all our other cultural achievements led to? The fearful answer is there before our eyes. Man has been delivered from no fear. A hideous nightmare lies upon the world. So far, reason has failed lamentably, and the very thing that everybody wanted to avoid rolls on in ghastly progression. Man has achieved a wealth of useful gadgets, but, to offset that, he has torn open the abyss. And what will become of him now? Where can he make a halt? After the last World War, we hoped for reason. We go on hoping. But already we are fascinated by the possibilities of atomic fission, and promise ourselves a golden age, the surest guarantee that the abomination of desolation will grow to limitless dimensions. And who or what is it that causes all of this? It is none other than that harmless, ingenious, inventive, and sweetly reasonable human spirit, who unfortunately is abysmally unconscious of the demonism that still clings to him. Worse, this spirit does everything to avoid looking himself in the face, and we all help him like mad. Only heaven preserve us from psychology. That depravity might lead to self-knowledge. Rather, let us have wars, for which somebody else is always to blame, nobody seeing that all the world is driven to do just what all the world flees from in terror. It seems to me, frankly, that former ages did not exaggerate, that the spirit has not sloughed off its demonisms, and that mankind, because of its scientific and technological development, has in increasing measure delivered itself over to the danger of possession. True, the archetype of the spirit is capable of working for good as well as evil, but it depends upon man's free, i.e. conscious decision, whether the good also will be perverted into something satanic. Man's worst sin is unconsciousness, but it is indulged in with the greatest piety even by those who should serve mankind as teachers and examples. When shall we stop taking man for granted in this barbarous manner, and in all seriousness seek ways and means to exercise him, to rescue him from the possession and unconsciousness, and make this the most vital task of civilization? Can we not understand that all the outward tinkerings and improvements do not touch man's inner nature, and that everything ultimately depends upon whether the man who wields the science and the techniques is capable of responsibility or not. Christianity has shown us the way, but, as the facts bear witness, it has not penetrated deeply enough below the surface. What depths of despair are still needed to open the eyes of the world's reasonable leaders, so that at least they can refrain from leading themselves into temptation? I think that would be an interesting opening salvo for Carl Jung to give to Sam Harris, and that I think we saw Jordan Peterson try to get that across several times to Sam Harris and Matt Dillahunty. If you like this sort of thing, if you like original primary source material, quotes from Carl Jung or Jordan Peterson or William Blake or Northrop Frye, pretty much anything Jordan Peterson related, give this video a like and please subscribe. Thank you.
Well, there's a guy who's got a little YouTube channel, and I've been sending a lot of people his way, Node in a Network, and he's basically been reading all of the stuff in the footnotes of Maps of Meaning,
where we're all sort of plugged in as like nodes on the network.
Node in a network, there's a good username.
A node in a network.
The wrong model, because you're at the center of a network. You're a node in a network.